There are four foods on the carnivore diet that I consider staple foods. Hi, I'm Kelly, Broken Carnivore. What is staple foods? Staple foods is a food that you can actually get and that you can afford. A lot of times back in the days, in the medieval times, even before that, when we were hunters or gatherers, or we were agriculture, or even living in a community, a lot of times getting those foods, proper nutrition is kind of hard. So what do we usually eat if we can't afford, abundance of food? We get the staple foods, and usually staple foods is considered, wheat, bread, plant-based, whatever you can get. And that's what your primary staple food. Back during the time that Jesus was walking this earth and during his ministry, that's why he always mentioned that I am the bread of life. Well, bread is one of those staple foods for a lot of the poor, because if you were rich, you can get the meat. You wanted to keep the poor people away from your hunting grounds. You want the best. So you want to be able to have that food. Well, to be able to do your hunger and be able to satisfy that hunger and get your nutrition, get the food, you have to get whichever you can. And that's why bread, wheat, all that was very available, very affordable, and is very staple. Even today, processed foods in the grocery store are considered staple foods. You have your ramen noodles, you have your macaroni and cheese, you have all that, and it's cheap and it's very available and it's affordable, but it comes at a cost with our health. Well, if you want to eat, carnivore, I've been carnivore for 250 days now, and I am feeling my best, but I wanted to optimize my health. So, and I want to also, I'm on a budget as a single parent, a single father, a single income, and with bills, the rising costs of insurance and food and all the necessities we need, you have to budget your money. And one thing you want to make sure that your family eats. You want to make sure you get your nutrition. So, the changes I've done is not only that I'm trying to go to OMID, because one of these days I want to do a long-term fast, at least minimum of 48 to maybe 72 hours at start, and then longer than that. So, I want to go back to what we used to do, because we didn't eat 3 meals a day. We didn't snack in the middle of the day. We got what we needed. We ate. And if we couldn't hunt the next day, or we didn't hunt, we didn't eat. That's the way it was. Even back, 100, 200, even all the way back to the beginning at the garden. I am a Christian. I believe that life started at the garden, and even after the fall of sin, and we were kicked out of the garden, we had to gather our food. We had to learn. We had to learn to work the ground. We had to learn to hunt and gather. We had to, raise animals. So everything, instead of having it for us, we had to learn to go get it. Well, some days, even a farmer, if you didn't eat, if you didn't get food that day, or you're waiting for food to grow, or just like this, we could have a famine. Or we can have a shortage, even today, have a shortage in the grocery store and there's nothing on the shelves. What are we going to do? Well, we need to learn to go back to our old ways. We are hunters and gatherers, and we have to find a way to get our nutrition. And I do believe that the divine human diet was carnivore, but we can also tolerate plants. And we had to go. That's one reason why we are on the top of the food chain. And it's because we were rule over the animals, because our stomachs are made to thrive. We are made to thrive on meat and fat, not plant-based junk that is highly toxic. I'm talking about natural animal-based fats like butter, tallow, ghee, lard, duck fat, anything that's natural animal-based fats. I do believe that we could thrive on some natural plant-based fats like extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, and avocado oil. And the reason why I said that is because, some areas like the middle Mediterranean area or the tropicals or the paradise areas where like the Caribbean or out there in Tahiti, the nice tropical areas where their primary meat protein diet is fish, they got to have some kind of fat. So they learn to use made a natural plant-based fats. But, if you're in the cold, snowy, you can't grow a garden, you can't grow this. What do? You primarily are carnivores. You ate whale blubber, you ate polar bear, whatever it is. That's what your primary diet. So the one thing is as time goes, we're in the modern age, we have grocery store, we can go to it. Well, if you want to consider the carnivore diet and you're like, well, what should I eat? I don't know what to eat. I mean, I can't afford to be on carnivore. Actually, you can eat on carnivore and affordable, and you can eat quality on carnivore and not eat like lunch meat and hot dogs and stuff. You can eat good stuff. And so I want to share with you these 4 foods that I eat daily on every day as my staple foods. I want to share with you that these are good staple foods on the carnivore diet. Now I'm going to give you a bonus. There's one food that I will eat once a week. And then there's another one that I like the best that I used to eat quite a bit, but being on a budget, I had switched over to eat it as a treat every now and then. Delicious. It's like a dessert to me. And, I want to share with you. Well, the first one of these staple foods I want to share is bacon. Bacon is very affordable. I can go to Aldi's and I get a pound of bacon. It costs about $3.99 a pound. So one package of bacon, you can go to Aldi's, $3.99 a pound. Or if you can save your money up and you can learn how to do it, you can cure your own bacon. You can actually cure it without sugar. But the one thing about it is when you see the added sugar, it's just a part of the cure. It's the fuel for the curing process because the curing process needs that fermentation to cure that bacon to be stable. It is very stable. You can get it anywhere and it's quite affordable. And no matter how you prepare your bacon, you can eat it. You can eat it where you can cook it where you still have lot of fat. You can cook it crisp. You can cook it in a skillet. You can cook it in an air fryer. My favorite way is I like to cook it in the oven at 400 degrees. Place a parchment paper on a cookie sheet. I usually have 6 to 8 pieces on there when I have bacon. And I put it in the oven for about 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, I pull it out, pull it off, let it cool off. And then I can take the bacon grease, I put it in a jar. So I use that to cook my eggs or if I add a little fat. So not only that I'm getting the bacon, I'm getting like for $3.99 for a package of bacon, I'm getting 2 for the price of 1. So not only you're getting the bacon and you get the nutrition with the fat and stuff, you're also getting the bacon grease, which you can use as cooking grease, or you can use it to, cook your eggs, whatever you want. And so that to me is a staple food. The second food that I consider that it's a staple food is eggs. I know this last winter, eggs was very expensive. It got up to, store-bought eggs, the white egg that you see in the store that used to be under $1 a dozen, I saw up to over $10 a dozen. Many of you saw it go up to $12 to maybe $15 a dozen. But the good thing about that, even during that time, you could get a good pasture-raised organic egg that the chicken's diet was what chickens eat. I was getting those eggs, even though that right next to the grocery store I went to, those eggs were $10 a dozen, the store-bought. Right next to it was from a local farm in the state I live in. I live in Missouri. In the wintertime, it's pretty much dead. There's no bugs. The chickens, you have to buy some kind of animal based diet for the chickens so they can thrive in the wintertime. You don't want to feed them grain. They're not meant to eat grain. They're meant to eat bugs and worms and all this stuff, because chickens are like us. We have one stomach. We don't have a chamber stomach like cows do. So it's hard for them to digest. If they have any grain-based food, they're going to have problems. You have to give them antibiotics. But these eggs I'm talking about, they come from a town about an hour and a half from where I live, and they eat what chickens eat. And they were like $6 a dozen. The big ones, the regular store-bought white eggs that normally is like 50 cents to $1 a dozen, was $10. So you could get a good quality egg in the wintertime, even though it was shortage on the other eggs. And you can eat. I normally eat 4 eggs at a time. And eggs are very staple. They're very nutritious. The only thing you need is you need to make sure that the white is done. The yolk my opinion, yolk is runny, but it's your opinion how you fix the eggs. So I consider eggs very, very staple. The third food that I consider very staple is butter. Butter is one of those that is a fat that you can get anywhere. It is very staple. It's very animal-based, natural fat, and is very affordable. Normally, I like the Kerrygold butter, but at Aldi's, they have a butter, brand that is comparable to Kerrygold butter. As a matter of fact, the same. You probably could say, take the Kerrygold, you take the wrapper off, you couldn't even tell if it's Kerrygold butter or that. And it's their version, just like Kerrygold butter. I get that for $3.45 a block. Or if you can't afford that, you can get the regular butter there for the same price with 4 sticks of butter, because butter is butter. But if you can get grass-fed, the more quality is better. But if you can't afford that, at least get the regular butter. It's very affordable. The fourth food that I'm talking about is ground beef. Ground beef, you can get that at any store. You can get it anywhere. You can go to a local farm. You can go to your butcher shop. You can go to the store. I go to my local grocery store in town, close to where I live, the nearest store. They have the 10-pound tubes. I pay probably every 2 weeks, maybe $39 to maybe $42 for a 10-pound roll. It's about $3.99 a pound, because if you buy in bulk, it is a lot cheaper in the long run. Because I shop every 2 weeks, and I can bring it home. I get 1 to 2 rolls. And a lot of times I'll have leftover, so I still have some in there. And I can be able to use ground beef for anything. You can make it loose, where you can make power bowls. You can, be unique. You can make some kind of like a carnivore taco shell. You can have tacos with it. You can if you can tolerate the sauces, and you got to be careful with sauces like barbecue sauce, because there is no sugar added barbecue sauce out there, but some of those no added sugar barbecue sauces also use artificial sweeteners, such as aspartame or sucralose, and that kind of stuff can be bad. It's just as bad as regular barbecue sauce. But there's one particular sauce that I do use when I do want to do barbecue, loose burger, juicy burger type thing, and that is Sweet Baby Ray's has a no added sugar. They use allulose as a sweetener. So that's the only one that I use, but now I want to simplify it, so I only use it every now and then, because I want to optimize my health by eating very simple. But not only that, you can make smash burgers. There's another thing I like to do is I like to take and pull chunks off of the ground beef and have little chunks. And it's very simple. And I can put eggs with it. I can crumble up bacon, put some butter on top, and have an awesome power bowl. So ground beef, that is really affordable. It's more affordable than ribeye. It's more affordable than chuck roast, and it's very staple. Now, the two foods that I'm talking about that I said a bonus is that one of them is more affordable, and that is the chuck roast. I will have chuck roast once a week to change it up because, sometimes it does get boring, and so I change it up to having chuck roast. And you can prepare chuck roast many ways. I have prepared chuck roast in the crock pot where on low and slow for 8 hours with some bacon on top of it, mixed with some ground beef. I do it, do a braising in the oven where I hand sear it and then put it in the oven for about 30 minutes. I also have done it on the grill where I did a slow and smoke on the grill and then do a good reverse sear on top to get that good crust. But I like it where I can put it in a skillet. Which I only use cast iron when I'm cooking my meat. I have now, like, my favorite part of the chuck roast where it's quick is I like to put it in the skillet, 5 minutes on each side, and then I put the lid on and I shut the heat off and I let it finish, simmering, but I let it rest for about 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, it's not only is finished cooking the way I want it, it's also seared on both sides, gets that nice little crust. And so I do that now because I've been learning to eat my beef a little bit more on the rarer side, because when you cook it through, you do change it up. And I like to have a little bit more of that fat, a little bit more of the nutrition, because, you do cook out some of the nutrients and the vitamins that you need. But if you get it more on the rarer side, you're going to maintain some of that. Now, I haven't just tried raw. I don't know if I could do that, but I am learning to cook my beef a little bit more on the rare side, especially steaks and roast. And even my ground beef, I have a little bit more on the rare side, so I can get that less render fat, more of the vitamins, the iron, the nutrients that I need in my body to be able to run through the day. So, that's my primary things that I do with the chuck roast. Now, the final one bonus that I add is one of my favorite steaks is the ribeye. The ribeye, even though it's a little bit more expensive cut of meat than like the sirloin or chuck steak, but the one thing I do like about the ribeye, it is one that is got enough fat to protein ratio. It is one that I consider a favorite. Many of us consider a favorite. You can get the rib roast, cheap, and you can cut that up and make your ribeye steaks. But this one I do every maybe 2 weeks to a month. I use this as a treat. It's like a dessert for me. So I at least want to have a ribeye and to have the nutrients. So those are the foods that I eat on a daily basis. The chuck roast I eat every once a week. And then the ribeye I do about every 2 weeks, once a month. And those are my primary foods that I eat. And I wanted to share with you, especially the four that I consider staple foods. All right, let's wrap this video up by reading 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 21. If you keep yourself pure, you will be a special utensil for honorable use. Your life will be clean, and you will be ready for the master to use you for every good work. And likewise, let's be kind, be positive, have a good attitude, encourage and support one another. You'll have a great day.